George H.W. Bush becomes first U.S. president to turn 94. KENNEBUNKPORT, Maine. George H.W. Bush enjoyed a relaxing birthday on Tuesday as he became the first former U.S. president to turn 94. The nation's 41st president was receiving calls and taking it easy at his seaside home 8 days after being released from a hospital where he was treated for low blood pressure, said Chief of Staff Gene Becker. His wife, former First Lady Barbara Bush, passed away this April. Several of his children were in town, including former President George W. Bush. Another son, Neil Bush, called on people in a newspaper opinion piece to volunteer and to become a point of light. As president, Bush encouraged others to be points of light, reflecting his belief that people need to help out in their communities. Bush became the oldest U.S. president months ago and is the first to celebrate a 94th birthday, said spokesman Jim McGrath. Former Democratic President Jimmy Carter isn't far behind, at age 93, and he'll celebrate his 94th on October 1st. Two other former U.S. presidents made it to 93, deceased Republicans Ronald Reagan and Gerald Ford. The Central Intelligence Agency marked Bush's birthday by releasing declassified material related to his tenure as the agency's director from January 1976 to January 1977. The items include a video about his path to becoming CIA director and another about his farewell visit to the agency employees in January 1993, the final month of his presidency. Related to that visit is a copy of a schedule for a briefing over lunch to discuss Iraq, Bosnia, Somalia, counterintelligence, counter-narcotics and SysOps, an apparent reference to former Soviet states. After dessert, the briefs included presentations on Russia, North Korea, and ClanSig operations, an agency acronym for Clandestine Signals Intelligence. 4 days later, Bush celebrated what would have been his wife's 93rd birthday by tweeting about her service to others. The Bushes, who had 6 children, were married for 73 years, the longest presidential marriage in U.S. history. On Tuesday, his granddaughter, Jenna Bush Hager, posted a photo on Instagram and wrote, "Happiest 94th to our Gramps, the anchor of our family, our compass. I've loved being with you in your favorite place, by the magnificent sea." The George W. Bush Presidential Library tweeted a photo of father and son together in the Oval Office. Over the past 25 years, Bush has remained active in public life, with emphasis on volunteerism. The World War II veteran worked with the man who beat him in 1992, Bill Clinton, on relief efforts after the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami and hurricanes Katrina, Rita, and Ike. In 2005, Bush was named a United Nations Special Envoy to help with aid after an earthquake in Pakistan killed nearly 75,000 people. Until the onset of Parkinson's, Bush was propelled by a kind of boundless energy that helped him relish his prolonged status as a global figure, said Jeffrey Engel, director of the Center for Presidential History at Southern Methodist University. No doubt boosted by the fact that his son, George W. Bush, served as president for 8 years, he set out to put his global prestige to good use. And he flexed political muscle when he could. He enjoyed playing a part in politics behind the scenes, but also in a grandfatherly way, Engel said. There's the old quip about how the best part of being a grandparent is you get to play with the kids and go home at night. I think he made the same approach to politics. Bush's predecessors didn't leave behind a manual for what to do after office, and their post-presidential paths diverged widely. After George Washington left office in 1797, he became a whiskey tycoon, making his plantation the site of a distillery that by 1799 had become the largest in the country, according to Smithsonian Magazine. America's second and third presidents John Adams and Thomas Jefferson each lived for decades after the end of their terms, and both died on the 50th anniversary of the adoption of the Declaration of Independence, July 4, 1826. On his deathbed, Adams whispered his last words, "Thomas Jefferson survives." But Jefferson had died a few hours earlier at Monticello, his Virginia estate. In 1830, John Quincy Adams became the first and only former president to later be elected to the House of Representatives. And after William Howard Taft left office, he finally landed the job he wanted all along. At age 63, Taft became the only former president to become Chief Justice of the United States. In his time as president, Taft had nominated Edward Douglas White to be Chief Justice with a tinge of jealousy. He loathed being president, Justice Felix Frankfurter said, and being Chief Justice was all happiness for him. For Bush, a letter penned in July 1992, near the end of his first and only term as Commander-in-Chief, gives some insight into how he pictured his own life out of office. It was 4 months before his defeat by Clinton. "I think I'll win, I'm convinced I'll win," Bush wrote. "But this little creeping thought comes to mind: if I don't win, I'll be a very happy guy."